All right, today we want to talk about section 7.5, which is going to introduce us to glide reflections. First thing we want to talk about is what is a glide reflection, and it's simply a transformation where every point is going to move twice, but it's going to happen in the following way. First, you're going to translate one point to its image, P prime, and then you're going to reflect it over a line that's parallel to the direction of the translation. So really, if we look at our picture here, we're going to slide point P over to P prime, and then since that moved in a straight line, we're going to reflect it over this line K here, and we will get the point P double prime. So that's what a glide reflection looks like. It's really beginning to start our process of combining multiple transformations into what looks like one. An example of this is if we start with the points A at -1, -3, B at -4, -1, and C at -6, -4. We want to first have a translation where we move the X values to the right 10, and we want to have our Y values stay the same. And then we're going to reflect in the Y axis. So for the sake of time and you guys not needing to see me plot points, I went ahead and did that before we started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move every point to the right 10 spaces. So if we look at A, its X value starts at -1. If we add 10 to that, we'll get to +9. So that'll give us our A prime. We look at B. That's X value is -4. If we add 10 onto that, we will get a +6. Which will give us our point B prime there. And C, with an X value of -6, we will now get a +4 value for C. So we have C prime sits right there. Notice that since the translation that we were given does not change the Y value, those Y values are going to stay the same. The next part of our glide reflection that we're going to do is we need to reflect in the Y axis or in the X axis. So what we need to do is now we need to figure out how far away each of these points are below the X axis, and we will put them the same distance above the X axis this time. Really, what we're just going to do is change the sign on the Y values. So if I look at A, we are 3 spaces below the X axis, so now I need to go 3 spaces above. That'll give me my A double prime. If I look at point B, it is 1 below, so now I'm going to go 1 above, and I'll get my B double prime. And C goes 4 below. It now needs to go 4 above. And I've got C double prime. And if you want to put coordinates on all of these, your A will be 9, 3. Your B will be at 6, 1. And your C double prime will be at 4, 4. So that's really what a glide reflection is. If you were to do the reflection first and then do your translation, you would end up with the exact same process and you would get the same points because the translation occurs parallel to the line that we're reflecting over. So that is one special case where order does not matter in how we do these. What we want to start talking about now is a composition, and that's really just two or more transformations combined to produce a single transformation. So really, if you look at a glide reflection, it would fall under the category of a composition, but we can go deeper and do some different transformations and go ahead and get us a different set of orders. Another thing is if we have a composition that are themselves isometries, then the resulting composition will still be an isometry. So what are problems going to look like if we're doing a composition? Well, if I start with my points P at 2, -2, and Q at 3, -4. First, we want to do a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, and then we want to reflect it in the y-axis. If you remember from our section on rotations, if we have a 90-degree rotation about the origin, you change the sign on the y value, flip your x and your y value. So if P is at -2, 2, our P prime will be over here at +2, 2. Our Q will then go to 4, 3 to give us our Q prime. So that is our rotation. So all we've done is move this 90 degrees in the counterclockwise direction. Now we need to reflect that over the y-axis. So if we look at P prime, we're at 2, 2. It's 2 spots to the right of that. We now need to go 2 spots to the left. We get P double prime at -2, 2. We do the same thing with Q. It's 4 spaces to the right. I need to go 4 spaces to the left to give me Q double prime at -4, 3. And our double primes are going to be our final answer, and this is going to be our combination of these two transformations of a rotation and a reflection. In the previous example that we went through, I told you that order didn't matter because that translation occurs parallel to the line that we're reflecting over. Obviously, things are not going to always be parallel. There was no parallel translation in this. So let's take a look at the exact same problem that we just started with. But now what if we do the reflection first and then the rotation? If we reflect P and Q over the y-axis first, P starts out 2 spaces to the right of the y-axis. It now has to be 2 spaces to the left. We have P prime at 2, -2, -2. Q is going to be 3 spaces to the right. It now needs to go 3 spaces to the left. We have Q prime at -3, -4. And now we've got that counterclockwise rotation to deal with yet. So once again, we'll still flip our X, change the sign on our Y value, flip those with the X values. So now, if we change the sign, this -2 for P prime becomes a +2. So we're going to go to +2, +2. And if we plot that, our P is going to be the same as P double prime. The difference here is going to be with our Q. We change the -4 to a +4, flip it with our -3, so we're at +4, -3. So our Q double prime will be at 4, -3. Which, if we go ahead and take a look at what we did in the previous example, then you will see that our double primes do not match up whatsoever. So, in this case, you need to pay attention to what order they give them to you so that you can follow them in that order to get the same result every time. All right, that's all for this lesson. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I will be checking that periodically, so let me know if you have any questions. Other than that, you have your assignment, but I will flash it up here real quick. We'll check this when I get back. Let me know if you have any questions.